Tuppence?
Tommy! You! Of all people, you! Ducks.
Of course.
Oh dear, oh Bean. Your mom?
Yes, 2 months ago. You?
5 months ago. Gratuity?
Spent.
Oh, Tommy.
Oh, no, old thing, not in riotous dissipation. No such luck. Cost of living, you know.
My dear boy, there's nothing I don't know about the cost of living. Can you afford 1 and 3pence?
Of course I can.
Oh, you always were a shocking liar. Come on, let's adjourn. A pot of tea, a currant bun, and each pay our own.
Anyway, there I was, in that wretched hospital, coming out of the anaesthetic, and there you were.
A wretched nurse.
Oh, I thought you were an angel.
I thought you were dying. You looked awful.
You looked exactly as you'd looked all those years before. Up a tree. In an orchard, chucking apples down to the rest of us.
It was an affecting reunion, I agree.
That's not true. You did look rather cleaner. Anyway, a month later, they sent me back to the front. 1916. Seems a lifetime ago.
When I told her she couldn't have the flat after all, it was simply a bargain, my dear. Just like the one Mabel Lewis brought back from Paris.
Ridiculous conversations people have. Do you know, I heard someone talking in the street yesterday about somebody called Jane Finn. Did you ever hear such a ludicrous name?
How about a job? Any prospects?
Oh, there aren't any jobs. Anyway, even if there were, they wouldn't give them to me. I mean, why should they? I'm an ex-serviceman with absolutely no qualifications whatsoever.
Money's all I think about. Money, morning, noon, and night.
Same here. I've tried all the orthodox ways of making money.
How about the unorthodox? Oh, if only we could get ourselves known, people might hire us to commit crimes for them.
And just how do you propose to get in touch with our would-be employers?
Advertisement. Got a pencil and paper?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. Somewhere.
Oh.
Good. There. Now, how about, young officer, wounded in the war, twice wounded in the war.
Here we are. 2 young adventurers for hire, willing to do anything, go anywhere. Pay must be good. No reasonable offer refused.
I should think any offer we get to that would be a pretty unreasonable one.
Tommy, you're a genius. That's much more chic. No unreasonable offer refused.
May I speak to you for a moment?
If you're going to make a nuisance of yourself, I warn you I shall scream.
I mean no disrespect, but I happened to overhear part of the conversation you had with the young gentleman in the tea rooms.
You did?
I think I may be able to help you.
Is that the reason you followed me here?
It's the only reason, I assure you. Whittington's the name. If you will call upon me at my office tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I will lay the details of my proposition before you.
£100 down and all expenses paid.
That is my proposition.
And the nature of the work?
Shall we say a pleasure trip?
Where to?
Paris.
Oh.
What could be more delightful than to turn the clock back a few years? A very few, I'm sure. And re-enter one of those pensionnats de jeunes filles that Paris abounds in.
Finishing school?
Of an informal nature.
For how long?
That depends. Possibly 3 months. You would have to get in the character of my ward, and I should have to insist on absolute secrecy.
And there are no other conditions?
None whatever. Well, surely you're not going to refuse. It's a very liberal offer, Miss...
Finn. Jane Finn.
Very clever young woman, but not very wise. Now, who's been talking? Rita?
Rita? No, Rita knows nothing about me.
I should advise you not to play the fool with me. How much do you know?
Very little indeed.
Well, how much do you want?
Money?
Well, I presume this was intended as a blackmail, or is it something else that you're after? Come in.
Message for you, sir.
Thank you, Miss Brown. You may go. Come back tomorrow at the same time. I'm busy now. There's £50 to be going on with.
Real name because of poor father. So I just invented one, you know, in case we got involved in anything shady.
Perhaps that's so, but you didn't invent it, Tuppence.
Didn't I?
No, you didn't. Thank you. No, I told it to you. Don't you remember? I said yesterday I'd overheard 2 people talking about a female called Jane Finn, and that's what put it into your mind.
So you did, I remember now. Tommy?
Yes?
What did they like, the 2 men that passed you?
Well, one was a big, dark, burly sort of chap. Quite handsome, I suppose.
Do you know, I think that's him. How extraordinary, that's Whittington. And what was the other one like?
Oh, well, I didn't really notice him particularly. It was really the outlandish name that caught my attention.
And people say coincidences don't happen.
Tuppence, what is this going to lead to?
Who knows? Might get another £50.
Yes, well, if you insist on celebrating our newfound wealth in places like this, you'll have to.
Were you hungry or weren't you?
Hungry.
Well then.
But seriously, Tuppence, this man, Whittington, he was, angry, you say?
Very.
Yes, and likely to be more so tomorrow. You can't bluff him forever, you know. You're sure to slip up. Sooner or later.
Where's your spirit of adventure gone?
Oh, they've gone.
Gone?
Yesterday afternoon. Company being wound up, they say.
Thank you. I suppose you don't have Whittington's address?
I'm afraid I don't, miss. They left rather suddenly.
Yes, they did, didn't they?
Cheer up. Can't be helped.
That's where you're wrong. This isn't the end, you know. It's just the beginning.
Tuppence, the man has vanished. It can't be the beginning of anything. Have a bun.
I don't want a bun. Tommy, don't you see? If they're scared enough to run away, then there must be a lot in this Jane Finn business. Got a pencil?
Oh, not again.
We're going to get to the bottom of this. We'll be sleuths in earnest.
But there's no one left to sleuth.
That's why we'll have to start all over again.
Wanted. Any information respecting Jane Finn?
Oh, it's the waiting I can't bear.
Well, the advertisement only went in this morning.
Sometimes, Thomas Beresford, you're irritatingly logical. Oh, look, what's that?
What?
There, in the grass.
Oh. Someone must have lost it. Rather pretty, isn't it?
Yes, it is pretty.
I suppose we ought to hand it in.
It's not worth anything.
How can you tell?
Cheap class. I'll take it as an omen that our luck's about to change.
It had better. £5 won't last forever. Tuppence, have you thought? Supposing there are no replies.
To an advertisement in the Times? They'd be ridiculous.
Sorry to disappoint you, old thing. Good money wasted.
Tommy.
Still, there it is. Only 2 replies.
Oh, you devil. Ooh, thick paper, this one. Looks rich. We'll leave it to last and open the other one first.
Right you are.
Dear Sir, referring to your advertisement in this morning's paper, I may be able to be of some use to you. Perhaps you could call and see me at the above address at 11 o'clock. Yours truly, A. Carter, 27 Carshalton Gardens. Plenty time to get there if we go by taxi.
Plenty of time to get there if we go by tube.
Oh, it's from the Ritz. Dear Sir, re your advertisement. I should be glad if you would call round somewhere about lunchtime. Yours truly, Julius P. Hersheimer. Oh, I like the sound of Mr. Hersheimer. Lunchtime frequently leads to free food.
But first, Carshalton Gardens.
What we want to know, Mr. Carter, is what do you know about Jane Finn?
Well, now, the question is, what do you know about Jane Finn?
I really don't see what that's got to do with it.
Oh, but it has, you know, really. You must know something to have advertised as you did. So suppose you tell me.
We couldn't do that, could we, Tommy?
I dare say the little we know won't be any good to you, sir. But such as it is, you're welcome to it.
Tommy?
Do you know who I am?
Recognized you at once, sir. Saw you in France when I was with the intelligence. Fire ahead, Tuppence.
I suppose it started, really, when Tommy and I bumped into each other. When we got there, Whittington had vanished. So we advertised.
Yes, I see. Well, you're a curious young couple, if you don't mind my saying so. Well, if it's adventure you want, how would you like to work for me? All quite unofficial, you understand. But expenses paid and moderate salary.
What should we have to do?
Go on with what you're doing now. Find Jane Finn.
Yes, but who is Jane Finn?
In the early days of 1915, a secret treaty was drawn up in America, at that time a neutral country. It was dispatched to England for certain signatures by a special messenger, a young fellow called Danvers. Danvers sailed for England on the Lusitania. He carried the precious papers in an oilskin packet which he wore next to his skin. It was on that particular voyage that the Lusitania was torpedoed and sunk. And in the few moments during the launching of the boats, Danvers was seen speaking to a young American girl. Nobody actually saw him pass anything to her. But he might have done so. And when his body was eventually washed ashore and identified beyond any possible doubt, the oilskin packet was missing.
And that girl was Jane Finn?
We think he entrusted the papers to her, believing that she, as a woman, would have a greater chance of bringing them safely to shore. But Jane Finn vanished.
And the treaty?
It seems that the treaty was not destroyed at all, and has assumed a new and deadly significance. Its publication now would embarrass our government, strengthen the possibility of a general strike.
General strike?
Which would in turn lead to revolution in this country and the danger of a war in Europe.
Who in their right minds would ever...
Well, we don't know that this man is in his right mind. He's spoken of, quite simply, as Mr. Brown.
And you think he has the treaty?
We think he has knowledge of it. And if he got it, would certainly make use of it.
And Jane Finn?
Maybe dead, for all we know. But I don't think so, because the curious thing is that they are now trying to get information about the girl from us.
Whatever for? What does Mr. Brown want?
Supreme power for himself of a kind unique in history.
You know who it is, sir?
There are no clues at all as to his real identity. Even his own followers are unaware of it. And he's one idiosyncrasy. He never plays the principal part. But whenever we've come across his track, he's there, somewhere in the background. Maybe as a clerk or waiter or cabman. Once it was even a clergyman. And always, the name is mentioned. Brown.
In Whittington's office. The clerk, he was called Brown.
Can you describe him?
Just ordinary. You know, like everyone else.
The invariable description of Mr. Brown, an unassuming sort of chap. But I must warn you both. You'll be pitting yourselves against a formidable organization.
And the business side of it.
Funds within reason, detailed information on any point, but no official recognition whatsoever.
How much?
Tons.
Shall we say at the rate of 300 a year?
Each.
Each.
Tommy, pinch me. I can't believe it's real.
Yes. We're not dreaming. We've got a job.
And what a job. Oh, the joint venture has really begun. Funny how it makes you hungry.
Everything seems to make you hungry.
Well, it must be nearly lunchtime.
Julius P. Hersheimer.
We didn't tell Mr. Carter about him.
Well, there's nothing much to tell, not till we've seen him, but we'd better take a taxi.
Now who's being extravagant?
Are you telling us Jane Finn is your cousin?
Yeah, my father and her mother were brother and sister.
Then you know where she is.
I'm darned if I do, don't you?
We advertise to receive information, Mr. Hersheimer, not to give it.
I know, I can read. But I thought maybe it was a bit of her past history you were interested in. You might know where she is right now. Are you telling me the truth?
Oh, we really don't know where she is.
Well, I know why I'm trying to find her. Why are you trying to find her?
Why are you trying to find her?
When they were young, our parents were real close. They had a row, a big row. My Aunt Jane, that's Jane's mother, insisted on marrying the man she loved, except the man she loved was poor.
In my experience, most men are.
Do you mind?
Oh, thanks.
My father was hopping mad. Said if he ever struck oil, he was speaking metaphorically, understand, she wouldn't see a cent of it. Then he went and struck oil.
Literally.
Yeah, my daddy ended up the third richest man in America. Then last fall, he died. And I got the dollars.
So now you're the third richest man in America?
And I wanted to share my wealth with the only living relative I knew I had left in the world, Cousin Jane. But when I went to track her down, I discovered she just plumb vanished. That's why I'm trying to find her. Why are you?
Well, you see, we're kind of private investigators
Not kind of. We are.
who have been hired to try to find your cousin, because it's thought that at the moment she disappeared, she had, quite unknowingly, got mixed up in some political show. She may be held somewhere against her will.
Well, that makes some sense. Whenever I've tried to start a line of inquiry, I've been turned away. Scotland Yard, they were civil enough. Even sent a man around this morning to pick up her photograph. Quite an unassuming sort of chap.
You don't happen to remember his name, do you?
Yes, I do. No, I don't. I've got it here, though. Just have a sec. There it is.
Inspector Brown.
You're sure? Quite sure? Well, I guess I must have been mistaken. Thank you. Goodbye. Well, you were quite right, Miss Tuppence. There is no Inspector Brown in Scotland Yard.
I'm sorry.
I don't understand. Why would anyone want to steal Cousin Jane's photograph?
Was there anything special about it?
Oh, to me there was. As far as I know, it was the only photograph of her in existence. Now what do I do?
We're going to have to tell him. It isn't fair.
I agree.
I'll tell him. You book us in.
Won't the government find that a little excessive?
The government? Hey, wait a minute. What are you two?
He said funds within reason.
Yes, I'm not sure that within reason covers the Ritz.
We're keeping in touch with Jane Finn's only living relative.
Well, if you'll excuse me.
Of course.
I'll see you both later. I'm off to do a little sleuthing of my own.
My colleague and I will confer. Facts known, facts to be ascertained, and then we'll map out a plan of campaign.
Oh, good. Good. Make yourselves at home.
Thank you.
I'd just like you to know, it's a real pleasure having you around.
I didn't know nice millionaires existed.
Money hath charms.
Now let's concentrate. To begin with, what do we have to go on?
Absolutely nothing.
Wrong. We have two distinct clues.
Have we?
First clue. We know a member of the gang.
Whittington.
I recognize him anywhere.
I don't call that much of a clue.
Never mind. Clue 2 is much more promising.
It better be.
Rita. The name Whittington mentioned.
I know you're proposing a third advertisement. Wanted female crook answers to the name of Rita.
No, I am not. I propose to reason in a logical manner. That man Danvers was shadowed on the way over, wasn't he? And it was more likely to have been by a woman than by a man.
I don't see that at all.
Well, it's obvious. Women and children first, and that woman, whoever she was saved.
How do you make that out?
Well, if she wasn't, how would they have known that Jane Finn still had the papers?
There's something of the simplicity of the truly great mind about you, Tuppence.
Thank you. Now there's a chance. I admit it's only a chance that this woman may have been Rita.
And if so?
We've got to hunt through the survivors of the Lusitania till we find her.
We must have walked halfway round London these past few days, and all we have to show for it is 1 Frida, 4 Marys, and a couple of Berthas. I'm beginning to feel discouraged. I like things to happen quickly.
You must stifle this longing for vulgar sensation, Tuppence. Remember, Mr. Brown is all he's reported to be. It's a wonder he's not even now done us to death. Yet here we are unscathed. Perhaps he doesn't think it's worth bothering about.
Well, we'll just have to show him, won't we? Who's next?
Mrs. Vandermeyer. Number 20.
Right, Mrs. Vandermeyer. Here we come.
Christian name?
Margaret, sir.
M-A-R-G-A-R...
No. G-U-E.
Marguerite. I see, French. Actually, on the old voting register, we had her down as Rita Vandermeyer.
She's mostly known as Rita, but Marguerite's her real name. So she says.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Did you hear? I know a thing. I feel the same.
It's so lovely to think of things and then for them to really happen.
What the devil?
Quick, follow them. I daren't he might recognize me.
Who are they?
I don't know who the fair one is, but the dark one, that's Whittington.
Waterloo, and hurry.
You busy?
What's it worth?
Half a crown?
Sorry, Guv, got an urgent delivery. Not that urgent, mind you. Come on, then. Jump up. Follow that hansom cab.
It ain't like that, Sonny.
It ain't.
Good guys, bad guys, good cops, bad cops. It ain't that easy.
It isn't here, miss. If they've got dark hair and swarthy skins and don't shave proper, they're bad uns.
Even the cops.
Especially the cops, miss.
You sound like a bright young lad, William.
Name's Albert, miss. Hey, what's happened to your voice?
My voice? Which voice? I have so many voices.
He was an American a minute ago.
The next minute I'm French, and in another minute I'm Russian, so...
Must get a bit confusing.
It isn't the voices that are confusing, Herbert.
Albert.
With all those disguises, can you imagine what it's like going to bed a completely different person from the person who got up in the morning?
Like a film star or something.
Only wish I were. Know what this is? Secret Service.
You shouldn't be telling me that.
We know the people we can trust. And we never forget a friend. Know who I'm after?
One of the flats.
Number 20. Calls herself Vandermeyer.
Crook, is she?
Ready Rita, they call her.
And he always said she was a bad lot.
Annie?
House parlour maid. She's leaving. Regular turn up they had. Said as though Annie was reading her letters. Well, she won't find it so easy to get another.
Listen. How would it be if you were to say that you had a cousin or a friend of yours had? It might suit the place.
You leave it to me, miss. I'll fix the whole thing up in 2 ticks.
Oh, good lad. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock.
Oh, in disguise.
Au revoir.
Paper, please. Thanks.
First class single to Bournemouth, please.
Just the one, sir.
Just the one.
Damn.
Your train does not leave until 3:30, so we still have 20 minutes. Single Bournemouth, please. Third class. Thanks.
Hyde Park 8181, please. Be there, Julius, be there.
Prince, can I help you?
Julius P. Hersheimer, please.
Oh, you British traffic beats all description. Right, which one's mine?
Whittington, that tall dark chap, get into the carriage now. Here's your ticket. I can only afford third class, I'm afraid.
Oh, run, man, run!
Neither of them?
No, miss. Mr. Beresford hasn't been seen since he left with you this morning.
He might have wired or something. Oh, open that, will you, please? And Mr. Hersheimer?
Well, he had a phone call about 3:10, and then he just left.
Oh, that really is too mean of them. Here am I, bursting with news, not a single soul to tell it to. Men really are very unreasonable, Harry.
Name's Henry, miss.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown?
Second door on the left, upstairs.
Mr. Brown.
Second door on the left.
Enter. Your number, comrade.
I am number 1.
We are honored. Greatly honored. We thought it might be impossible for you to get here.
One meeting was essential to define my policy. So, let us proceed.
Damn.
Now, in the matter of a loan to an English newspaper, you have arranged the details satisfactorily, Boris?
I think so.
That is good. An official denial from Moscow will be issued if necessary. And the date?
The 29th.
That is sooner than we planned.
Information reached us from Mr. Brown that the government plans to change the law. We had to move quickly.
I understood there was a certain document in existence.
That is so. If that document were placed before the labor leaders, the result would be immediate. They would publish it, broadcast throughout England, and declare for the revolution without a moment's hesitation. The government would be broken, finally and completely.
Then what more do you want?
The document itself.
It is not in our possession.
No.
But you know where it is.
Only one person, perhaps, and we are not sure even of that.
Who?
A girl.
A girl? And you have not made her speak? Where is this girl?
She is... How did you get into this house?
Better ask your watchdog.
You let him in.
He gave the password. How was I to know?
You deny you were listening at the door.
Frightfully bad manners, I know, but your conversation was so interesting it overcame my scruples.
Unfortunately, it was not a conversation intended for your ears, which is why you will now be put to death.
Just a moment. I ask you, do I really look as though I thought there was the least chance of your killing me? Now ask yourselves why I am so confident. Gentlemen, because I know something that puts me in a position to propose a bargain.
A bargain?
My life and liberty against the papers that Danvers brought across from America in the Lusitania.
Danvers. I see, you've got these papers. But you know where they are.
Well, I do believe I know where to find them. And may I also remind you, gentlemen, that your big day, the 29th, is less than a fortnight ahead.
We accept on certain terms. The papers must be delivered to us before you go free.
Oh, don't be such an idiot. How can I search for them if you keep me locked up here?
What do you expect, then?
I make two conditions. One, I must have complete liberty to go about the business my own way. And two, I must question the girl.
What girl?
Jane Finn, of course.
I wonder, my friend, if you know as much as you would have us think.
See this door? We're right outside, just remember that.
Is the patient ready now, nurse?
Yes, certainly. I'll get her.
Apart from the havoc that you wreaked in the shrubbery, none of your own bones are broken. A slight sprain, but nothing serious, provided you put no weight on it.
You mean I can't move?
Precisely. But don't worry, you'll be up and about again in a couple of days.
Well, I sure am sorry, Mr.
Doctor. Dr. Hall. This is my nursing home.
Julius P. Hersheimer. Glad to meet you, Doc. Well, I guess you might be a little curious as to what I was doing up that drain pipe.
Well, it had occurred to me that the explanation might be of diversionary interest.
Well, you see, Doc, it was like this. I met this girl, this very special girl, you understand, On the boat coming over. Well, she took to me, too, I could tell. But her guardian didn't. Oh, no, he locked her in her cabin and gave me some guff about her being mentally disturbed and needing treatment.
A fair diagnosis of anyone in love, wouldn't you say?
Anyway, I knew they were coming to Bournemouth. So I decided to check out all the nursing homes in the area. I climbed up your drain pipe to have a look in, and believe it or not, I thought I saw someone I knew talking to one of your nurses.
Mr. Whittington, I presume?
That's the man.
Mr. Whittington has a niece on staff here. He came to see her.
Is he hanging around still?
No, he went back to town almost immediately.
Well, maybe I can get his address from his niece.
Nurse Edith also left here tonight with a patient.
I'm so sorry. I thought you were a friend of mine. Breakfast at last. What little I'm about to receive, may the Lord make me truly grateful. No, no, please don't go. Not yet. I just want to ask you something. Are you Jane Finn?
My name is Annette, monsieur.
Français?
Monsieur parle français?
Not for any length of time, I'm afraid. Annette. Have you heard that name before?
I have heard people mention it, monsieur.
Who mentioned it?
I must go. They will be waiting for me.
Now that's what I call a disguise. Blessed if I don't know you.
Tricks of the trade, Cuthbert, tricks of the trade.
Albert, miss.
Now then, am I your cousin or am I not?
You may sit down. How did you hear I wanted a house parlourmaid?
My cousin's the lift boy. He thought the place might suit me.
You speak like an educated girl.
I am an educated girl. But it's difficult these days even for an educated girl to get a job.
Your name?
Prudence Cooper, Mum.
You could come at once, Prudence.
Today, if you like. I've got my references.
Good. You will find this an easy place. 2 afternoons off a week, Friday and Sunday. I shall be out to lunch today, Prudence. But tonight, I have a very special guest coming to dinner.
She is new, the girl.
She came today.
You sure she's safe?
The hall porter recommended her. Something of the kind.
How do you know he was not bribed?
Why on earth should anybody want to bribe him? Really, Boris, sometimes you're absurdly suspicious. Botheration. You exaggerate.
I do not exaggerate. Sir James Peel Egerton is a celebrated lawyer, a distinguished politician,
and a delightful companion.
You're a very clever woman, Rita. But like many clever women, you are a fool where men are concerned. You must give him up.
I think you have forgotten something, Boris Ivanovich. I take my orders from one man, and one man only, Mr. Brown.
And I will tell you what Mr. Brown would tell you. That Peel Egerton has studied crime as no other man in this country has studied it. He can smell a criminal. You fancy you can deceive him?
I do not need to deceive him. I'm a beautiful woman, Boris. That is Sir James' only interest in me. Do not. Besides, he is extremely rich.
Money. That is always the danger with you, reader. Money. I believe you would sell your soul for it.
My soul, Boris. How very whimsical of you.
I believe you would even sell us.
You're quite safe. It would take a much richer man than Sir James to pay the price. Shall we go into dinner?
Well, I suppose there's a kind of beauty in the old familiar things. Annette. Annette, look at me. I want you to help me get out of this place. But would you help me? If you could.
You have spied on them. They are quite right to keep you here.
Wouldn't you do something to help another girl? About your own age?
You mean Jane Finn? It is her you came here to look for, yes. Always I hear that name. Jane Finn.
Then you must know something about her.
I know nothing. Only the name.
Nothing. Not a word from either of them.
No, miss. I found the little fella like you told me.
Oh, Billy.
Henry. But he says there's still nothing.
It's nearly 2 whole days. I won't conceal it from you, Will, but
Albert.
I'm worried. And mind you do, these stairs were an absolute disgrace yesterday.
What? Oh, yeah. Right, what happened again, miss? Promise you. Morning, Sir James.
Good morning, Albert. You're new here, surely.
Yes, sir.
Not been doing this sort of work long, I imagine. Nurse, perhaps?
Yes, sir.
Good place here, would you think?
I hope so, sir.
Well, just remember, there are always other good places. And sometimes a change does no harm.
But I've only just started.
Just a hint, that's all. Tell your mistress I'm here, will you?
Dear Mr. Carter, I'm really worried. Tommy has disappeared. I saw him last 2 days ago when we saw Mr. Whittington and another man coming out of... Just where have you been?
I'll explain all that in a minute. Miss Tuppence, those darn fools downstairs would have that Beresford hasn't been seen since Wednesday. Is that true?
Don't you know where he is?
I haven't had one word with him since we split up at the depot.
Depot?
Waterloo.
What on earth were the pair of you doing at Waterloo?
Beresford gave me a call, said he was trailing 2 crooks.
Morris and Whittington.
Yeah, the big one was mine, the one you bluffed. Beresford shoved a ticket into my hand and told me to get aboard the cars. He said he was going to sleuth the other one. You don't know anything at all about this?
I know a little. Boris, whatever his name was, dined at Mrs. Vandermeyer's last night.
Mrs. who?
Rita Vandermeyer was on the Lusitania with your cousin, Jane Finn. And she tried to befriend her. And I'm working in her flat as a parlour maid.
You mean you're a menial?
I'm a special agent pretending to be a menial.
Do you think this Boris is likely to come back to this flat again?
Well, I don't know. He might.
Well, we'll just have to be ready for him. Look, I'm going to buy a car, dress up as a chauffeur, and hang about outside.
You don't think that might be a trifle conspicuous?
Well, that's just a chance we'll have to take. Oh, Miss Tuppence, what kind of car would you like?
How did you do it?
Well, you know your chance with the Exchequer?
Not personally, no.
Well, I went around to his house over there on Downing Street. Said I reckon this machine was worth every bit of $20,000. Then I told him I'd give him $50,000 if he'd get out of it.
And?
He got out of it.
Which is why, of course, he's the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
It could be. Come on, hop in. I'd like to see these South Audley mansions of yours.
Oh, no, I've been thinking.
I think we should concentrate on Mrs. Vandermeyer's other visitor, Sir James Peel Edgerton.
Who the hell's he?
A barrister, an MP, and an expert at detection. In other words, professionals. Even they seem scared of him. Well, he spoke to me this morning, and I think he was trying to tell me something. To warn me.
My dear young lady, as far as I recollect, I only mentioned that there were equally good situations to be found elsewhere.
But it was a hint, wasn't it?
Perhaps. I certainly didn't expect you to turn up here only a few hours later, miraculously transformed, and cross-question me about it.
Sir James, I want to know why you gave me that hint.
Well, if I had a young sister forced to earn her living, I should not like to see her in Mrs. Vandermeyer's service. That's all I can tell you.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And now perhaps you'll tell me what is worrying you.
Tommy.
Who is Tommy?
He's Miss Tuppence's childhood friend. And what's really worrying us is...
Where is Tommy?
You've done extremely well so far. But it's rather too bad of, what do you know him as? Carter, I think you said. Mr. Carter, to pitchfork you into an affair of this kind. We can only hope that your friend Tommy is still alive and that we can find him.
But how?
Through Mrs. Vandermeyer, the one person who in all probability knows where he is.
She'd never tell us.
I think I can promise you that she will tell me.
And if she won't?
We could try bribery. She likes money.
Well, that's where I come in.
I was wondering where you came in.
Jane Finn is my cousin.
Ah.
And you can count on me, if needed, for $1 million.
Mr. Hersheimer, that is a very large sum.
Well, I don't think these are the kind of people you can offer sixpence to. Do you?
He's not pulling your leg, Sir James. He is disgustingly rich.
So why don't we get down to it? What's your idea, Sir James?
Miss! Oh, thank goodness you've turned up. She's going.
Who's going?
The crook, Reddy Rita. She's packing up and she just sent down word for me to get her a taxi.
You're a brick, Cuthbert. Come on. There's a telephone here, isn't there?
The flat's mostly at their own, miss, but there's a box just round the corner.
Right. Go to it at once. Phone the Ritz Hotel and ask for Mr. Hersheimer.
Mr. who?
Hersheimer. And when you speak to him, ask him to tell Sir James to come at once as Mrs. Vandermeyer is about to hook him.
Hersheimer.
Oh. I've got toothache, Mum. So I thought I'd better come home and have a quiet evening.
You'd better go to bed.
I'll be all right in the kitchen.
You little fool. Do you think I don't know? If you struggle or cry out, I'll shoot. Sit down. Put your hands above your head. And if you value your life, don't move them. You're clever. I'll say that for you. I had no suspicion at all. But I think we know where we stand now. Wouldn't you agree?
What's that?
Something to make you sleep.
You're not going to poison me, are you?
Perhaps. And then again, perhaps not.
Then I shan't drink it. I'd much rather be shot. I refuse to be killed off quietly.
Do you really think I want a hue and cry for murder out after me? It's a sleeping draught, that's all.
It's poison.
I know it's poison. No, please don't make me drink it.
Stop snivelling. You'll wake up tomorrow morning none the worse.
You swear it?
I swear it.
Very well.
Right. I think we know where we stand now. Wouldn't you agree? Supposing we sit down. Our present attitude is ridiculously melodramatic. No, not on the bed. Over here. That's right. Splendid. Now let's talk.
What about?
Money.
Money?
Always useful, don't you think? Particularly when there's a lot of it.
Do you think I'm the kind of woman to sell my friends?
If the price was high enough.
You couldn't buy me.
I couldn't. But I know a friend that could. Shall we say £100,000? You can take it from me. It's a perfectly genuine proposition.
What does he want to know, this friend of yours?
Where to find Jane Finn. You do know.
Oh, yes, I do know. What's that?
What?
Someone's listening.
How could there be?
You don't know him.
Him? Who? Mr. Brown, you mean? Forget about Mr. Brown for a minute. And think about £100,000.
He'll never let me get it. You don't know him. He's...
Oh, Julius. Brandy, quickly.
It's her heart, I think.
No, not there. In the Tantalus, in the dining room. The second... Oh, don't bother, I'll go myself.
Mr. Hersheimer, would you open that window?
Here. Sir James.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, could you help me?
Yes, of course.
Oh, dear.
Let me try. Drink it. It's only brandy, I promise you.
It's my heart. I mustn't talk.
All we can do now is to let her rest. Can we get her onto the bed?
Okay. What happened, Miss Tuppence?
I just offered her £100,000 to tell me where Jane Finn was, when suddenly she seemed terrified. Thought she'd heard something, but it was just you two.
It's not the most timely of entrances, I'm afraid, but we got the message from young Albert, who was convinced you were in danger.
He's right, I was. But how did you get in?
Luckily, the porter had a master key.
We're not going to get anything out of her till morning. But I don't think we ought to leave the flat.
She wouldn't clear out for £100,000.
She might. She seemed very frightened of Mr. Brown.
Miss Tuppence is right.
You don't think he'd get after her between now and tomorrow morning? How would he even know?
We have a very formidable adversary, Mr. Hersheimer. And we have an important witness. She must be safeguarded.
Well, there's one thing I'd like to know. Who put her up to clearing out?
Mr. Brown, I suppose. And in another moment, she would have told me who he was.
A bit different from the Ritz, isn't it?
So tired. Mr. Brown.
I shan't leave the flat. I'll sit up all night.
Take the key out, please, Miss Tuppence. And lock the door. You have a pocket?
Yes, Sir James.
Put the key in it, then. There must be no chance of anyone entering that room.
Leave him, Annette.
I just wanted one last look at him. You have tied him up so well.
Annette!
Je viens. Dormez bien.
Miss Tuppence, are you all right?
I'm sorry. He's here. Somewhere in the flat. I know he is.
But you yourself locked the door. The key is in your pocket. There's no other way through to that room.
Mr. Brown is here. I can feel him.
Good morning, Mrs. Vandermeer. I've brought you some tea. Julius, would you open the other curtains, please? Mrs. Vandermeer. Mrs. Vandermeer. She's dead. She must have been dead for some time.
That's impossible. No one could have got in.
She's on the point of betraying Mr. Brown and she dies. Is it only chance?
But how?
That is what we must find out. In the meantime, we must send for a doctor. But before we do, is there anything in this room that might be of value to us?
There's that. She kept her jewels and things in it.
Keys in the lock.
She was on the point of leaving, remember? She'd been burning some papers of some kind or another. Unfortunately, she seems to have made a thorough job of it.
Anything?
Nothing. It's empty.
Yes, Comrade Kremenin.
Who is he, sir?
Well, by many, he's believed to have been the real author of the Russian Revolution. But he didn't arrive in this country till yesterday.
He was at the meeting on Wednesday. I'd swear to it.
Well, if he's part of Mr. Brown's organization, anything's possible.
Perhaps he is, Mr. Brown.
Unfortunately, one of the few facts of which we're certain is that Mr. Brown is no foreigner.
A traitor? We've just fought a war.
Which some people would prefer we hadn't won. Now, the 29th, you say?
Yes, sir.
That gives us just over a week. Well, we can deal with the general strike menace. But if that draft treaty turns up, we're done for. England will be plunged into anarchy.
Dr. Hall, I wonder if you could tell me, are you acquainted with a Mrs. Vandermeyer?
I know her slightly.
I have reason to believe that Mrs. Vandermeyer once committed a young relative of hers to your charge.
Janet Vandermeyer, her niece.
When did she come to you?
Oh, as far as I can remember, June or July of 1915.
Was she a mental case?
She was perfectly sane, if that's what you mean. I understood from Mrs. Vandermeyer that the girl had been with her on the Lusitania when that ill-fated ship was sunk. And she has been in a state of severe shock ever since.
What kind of shock?
Janet Vandermeyer is suffering from a complete loss of memory.
What?
She remembers nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Well, maybe seeing someone from back home might...
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hersheimer. I thought you understood. Miss Vandermeyer is no longer in my care.
When did she leave?
The same evening that you fell off my drain pipe. A very urgent message arrived from her aunt, and the young lady and the nurse who was in charge of her left by the night train.
I remember now. You said Nurse Edith left with a patient. My God, to have been so near.
Right. As I thought, the birds have flown. They've stripped the house in Soho and gone.
There's only one thing puzzles me. When the mood changed, when they tied me up, Conrad said something about a bit different from the Ritz. But how could they have known?
Tuppence, do you think I'm ever going to find Jane?
Of course you'll find her.
How long can you live on dreams? That's what I'm asking myself. I've half a mind to go back to the States right now.
You can't. We've got to find Tommy.
Oh, I clean forgot Tommy. Tuppence, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Far away.
You and Beresford, what about it?
Tommy and I? We're just good friends, that's all.
But supposing we never find him and...
And he's dead? It's all right, say it. I can face facts. Well...
And all this business fizzles out. You could be kind of lonesome.
Oh, I'll be all right. I intend to marry, of course. That's if I can find anyone rich enough to make it worth my while.
Well, what kind of figure did you have in mind?
Figure? You mean tall or short?
No. Income.
Oh.
What about me?
What about you?
I admire you immensely, Miss Tuppence, and...
Thank you very much.
I'm proposing to you. Will you be my wife?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Because of Beresford?
No. 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 No, it isn't that. Well, thank you very much and all that, but I'm afraid I'll have to say no.
Well, I'd be obliged if you do me the favor to think about it until tomorrow.
An intriguing request.
What are old friends for except to help one another?
As you've helped me many times in the past.
You're looking tired, Anthony.
I just had the Prime Minister on the phone.
These are grave times. 6 months ago, a general strike would have seemed inconceivable.
But not now. Now it's a reality. So, your problem, whatever it may provide a little light relief. What is it you're trying to find out?
3 weeks ago, a man's body was found near the docks in New York.
Telegram for you, miss.
For me? Tommy. Get me an ABC, Henry.
Taxi's waiting, miss. Where shall I tell him?
Charing Cross.
Excuse me. Is Miss Cowley in her room?
I'm sorry, sir. Miss Cowley has just gone out.
Beresford! My God, is it really you?
Why on earth shouldn't it be?
You've been given up for dead.
Who thought I was dead?
Miss Tuppence.
She remembered the proverb about the good dying young, I suppose. Yes, well, there must be a certain amount of original sin in me to have survived. Anyway, I've missed her. She's gone out, it seems.
Shopping, I suppose.
At lunchtime? That doesn't sound like Tuppence.
I'd sure like to know where the hell you've been all this time.
Look here. Would you mind if we discussed it over lunch? I'm rather hungry. In fact, we can provide for more days. Not staying at Bottle of White. Lost her memory?
That's what the man said.
Oh, now that explains why they looked at me so oddly when I spoke of questioning her.
They didn't give you any sort of idea of where Jane was.
Oh, I'm an ass, I know. I ought to have got it out of them. Somehow, when I came round, all I could think about was that Kremenin wasn't there.
Who's Kremenin?
Well, Mr. Carter says he's the man behind the Russian Revolution, but I think he's Mr. Brown's spokesman, not the mastermind himself. More his master's voice, if you know what I mean.
Excuse me, sir. The young lady asked me to tell you that she's gone away.
Gone away?
Yes, sir. She asked for a taxi. Said Charing Cross. So I thought, having asked for an ABC...
When did she ask for an ABC?
Well, when I gave her the telegram, sir.
Telegram? Come at once. Moat House. Ebury, Yorkshire. Great developments, Tommy.
You didn't send it?
Of course I didn't send it.
Well, they've got her. Damn, they've got Miss Tuppence.
Then we'll just have to get her back, won't we?
Beresford. I wasn't going to tell you this, but considering what's happened, I think I should. This morning, I asked Miss Tuppence to marry me.
Oh?
I'd like you to know that before I suggested anything of the kind, I made it quite clear that I in no way wanted to butt in between the two of you.
Tuppence and I are pals. That's all.
A girl always refuses you once, doesn't she? You know, the sort of convention.
Refuses? Did you say refuses?
Yeah, didn't I say that? Yeah, she just rapped out a no without any reason to it. Then she left me a note. I found it when I went upstairs to pack.
What did she say in the note?
Here, I've got it right here. See for yourself.
Dear Julius, it's always better to have things in black and white. I don't feel I can be bothered to think of marriage until Tommy is found. Let's leave it till then. Yours affectionately, Tuppence.
I thought I'd let you know that I had my own reasons for wanting to find her.
Thank you. Julius? Henry said Tuppence told the taxi driver to take her to Charing Cross. Well? Trains for Yorkshire leave from King's Cross.
I don't think Miss Tuppence has ever been near this place.
She must have been. This is the moat house. There may be a caretaker or something.
Caretaker? You've got to be kidding. Look around you. Who's been taking care of this place? Oh, look at that dust. That's pretty thick. Not a sign of a footmark.
Let's have a look round.
It's Tuppence's. You sure? Absolutely. We found it together in the park.
Well, that settles it. She came here anyway. Someone must have seen her. We'll raise hell around here till we find her.
Do you realize we've been here for 2 whole days? We're no nearer to finding her. And next Sunday is the 29th. If we're going to get her back, we've got to do it before then. Her life won't be worth anything afterwards.
We need help. Professional help. I'm going to do what we should have done when we first found the brooch. Go to Scotland Yard.
What about Sir James?
What about him?
You said Tuppence trusted him.
Well, I didn't say I did.
Where did you get those clothes? Where did you find them?
Let me handle this, Beresford. You're frightening the child. It's okay, honey. We just want to know where you found the clothes. That's all.
Over there, by the rocks. The sea brought them in. They were wet and sandy. We didn't think they belonged to anyone.
Was there anything else?
Sure. No one's going to be angry with you.
There's something in this pocket.
The oilskin packet.
The treaty.
Have your knife, Tommy?
Yes. With the compliments of Mr. Brown.
Dear Beresford, you and I have never met, but I have heard a great deal about you. I've just learned from my friend Carter the tragic news of Miss Cowley's death. I will not try to comfort you with platitudes. She was an unforgettable young woman, and she will not be forgotten. Time will heal, but possibly a change of scene might help it heal more quickly. I have business interests in Arizona.
Arizona?
And one ranch in particular which needs a good man who might take over as a manager. If you are interested, come to see me. James Peel Edgerton.
Dear Sir James, thank you for your letter. I appreciate the thought that went behind it, but I'm afraid I must stay here until I have found...
Julius! Julius! Julius, look here, old chap. I'm sorry Julius?
It was a photograph of Annette, the girl who saved my life.
Young man, take my advice. Let others fight this secret battle. It's bad enough that one young life should have been lost. It would be unforgivable if there were two. Accept my offer. Go to Arizona. Concentrate on your own future. Let those of us like Carter and myself, whose lives are more than half over, worry about the country's.
Don't think I'm not grateful, sir. But I must find out what happened to Tuppence. If what they say about her is true, then that's something that has to be avenged.
What about the telegram?
Telegram?
Well, Carter says she received a telegram, the one that lured her away.
I don't understand.
It's just possible that the telegram that you read was not the telegram that was sent.
Perhaps that's why Henry said Tuppence told the taxi driver to take her to Charing Cross, when, logically, she should have said King's Cross. Come on, check something like that.
Some men have more power outside the cabinet than within. It may take an hour or so.
I brought him up the back stairs. I hope I did right, sir, but he was the one that brought a message for Miss Cowley, and she hasn't been back. And there's no one in that Rita's flat. And he's worried.
Wheel him in, Henry.
I want to... This will arrive for you, sir.
Oh, thanks.
Come at once. Astley Priors, Gatehouse, Kent. Great developments, Tommy. Good luck, James Peel Edgerton.
Come in. Hello.
Albert, sir.
Albert, you knew Miss Cowley?
She was going to recruit me, sir.
Recruit?
For the Secret Service, sir.
Ah.
The crooks haven't got her, have they, sir?
I'm afraid they have, Albert.
In the underworld?
Oh, dash it all, in this world. Now then, I need a good man to rely on. Do you think you could invent a sick grandmother or something and get a couple of days off?
I'm your man, sir.
Excellent. Now, Henry, I'm going to write a couple of letters, but I don't want them delivered until Albert and I are safely out of the way.
Yeah, I'm your man, sir.
Dear Hersheimer, I've tried telephoning, but you were out. Something extraordinary has happened. I've been offered a job in Arizona, and in the present circumstances, I've decided to take it. I leave immediately. Goodbye, Tommy Beresford.
Damn fool.
Oh, yes, about that body in New York. Couldn't get much, I'm afraid. Young chap of about 35, poorly dressed, face very badly disfigured. Still hasn't been identified.
I could identify him. I can't prove it yet, but I could identify him.
You're a devious animal. Sometimes I wonder why we get on so well.
Old school friendships never die.
True. Yes, I've always felt that if anyone was to run the elusive Mr. Brown down, it would be you.
And you, my friend, will be the first to know, I promise you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, this arrived for you by hand, sir.
Thank you, Watson.
Dear Mr. Carter, something's turned up that's given me a jar. I think I know where the real Jane Finn is. And what's more, I've figured it out that Tuppence is no more drowned than I am. I'm going to try to find her. I've even got an idea where the papers are. The last's only a guess, and I may be making an awful ass of myself. But anyway, I enclose it in a sealed envelope for what it's worth. I'm going to ask you not to open it until the very last moment. Midnight on the 28th. They're desperate to get hold of the treaty, you see. And if they thought that the papers had been recovered by us, Tuppence's life won't be worth an hour's purchase. One last thing. Please have that house in Soho watched, day and night. Yours, Thomas Beresford.
Looks very quiet, sir.
Yes, too quiet. I shall have to draw the enemy's fire. You stay here. Just watch. Wish me luck.
Good luck, sir.
And when they told me just how beautiful, when they told me how beautiful you are, they'll never believe me, never.
Now go back to whichever pub it was you've just crawled out of.
And while they was running you off, somebody opened the window and chucked this out. It was wrapped round a paperweight.
Tomorrow, same time.
Albert, did you see who threw it?
Well, I couldn't tell who it was, Gov. Anyway, something ought to happen because I replied.
You did what?
Well, I scribbled a message, wrapped it round a paperweight and chucked it back through the window.
What does it say, this message of yours?
That they, whoever it was, could find us here at the inn.
Your zeal, Albert, could be the undoing of us.
Oh, this is a geezer, sir.
Take this to the gentleman at the inn. He will give you 10 shillings. Dear Tommy, I knew it was you last night. They're taking us away this morning. I heard something about Wales, Holyhead, I think. I'll drop this on the road if I get a chance. Yours, Tuppence.
We found us, sir. What about my 10 shillings?
Here's a bob. It was a very short note.
Thanks very much, sir.
Anything the matter, sir?
How do you spell Tuppence, Albert?
Tuppence.
Yes, that's how she spelled it. Now look at this.
TWOPEN. That's not right, is it, sir?
Someone's made a mistake. And I know who.
This is an outrage. Do you mean to kill me?
You needn't worry, Kremenin. I'm not proposing to kill you. Yet. If you're reasonable, that is.
What do you want? Money?
No, I don't. I want Jane Finn.
I have never heard of this Jane Finn.
You'll tell me now, and I mean now, where I can find her.
I dare not. You ask an impossibility.
Afraid, huh? Of whom? Mr. Brown?
He would kill me.
Well, glad to hear it, because that makes two of us. I'm going to count to 5. And if you let me get past 4, you needn't worry too much about Mr. Brown. One, 2, 3, 4.
Thomas! I will do as you wish.
Where is she?
At the gatehouse in camp.
Now listen to me. I'm gonna tell you just exactly what I want you to do. You're gonna drive straight up to the house and you're gonna ask for the girls.
I never agreed.
Now listen. You're gonna ask for the girls. And you sure as hell better make it good. Now relax. I'll tell you a story about a man I shot once in Alaska.
What are you doing here?
Bring down the girls at once. There is no time to lose.
Well, surely you know the plan.
The plan has been changed. We have been betrayed. The girls at once, it is our only chance.
You have orders from him?
Should I be here otherwise? Hurry!
Come on, move.
Move. Don't have to.
Move with your toe.
Hold her right there. Julius.
Take it away, Miss Tuppence. Move over, Criminal.
Hold it.
I said hold it.
Stop him, you fool! Get away!
Are you all right, Miss Tuppence? Of course I am. Where's Tommy and who's this?
Tommy's on his way to Arizona.
Doing what?
Tommy thought you turned up your toes.
Breathe in, everyone.
Let me present Monsieur Crummonen. I persuaded him to come in this trip for the sake of his health.
They know I have betrayed them. My life won't be safe an hour in this country.
My advice to you is to make tracks for Russia, and fast. Hold up, Miss Tuppence.
Stop! Stop!
Annette, are you all right?
Annette, is that what you call her?
That's her name, isn't it?
This is the real and original Jane Finn you're looking at.
Be safe!
I guess there's nothing wrong with your memory, is there? Been fooling them all this time. Well, you listen to me, Cousin Jane. I've come all the way over here to Europe to try and find you, and sure as hell, I'm not going back without you.
Is it left or right, Julius?
Right. Sorry.
Tommy!
Hello. Where the hell have you come from, Beresford?
I was in the bushes by the drive. Hung on behind. Couldn't let you know before at the pace you were going. Rotten shots, the lot of them. Now then, you girls, get out.
Out?
There's a station just up that road.
You don't think you can fool them by leaving the car?
You and I aren't going to leave.
You're out of your mind. You can't let the girls go off alone.
Take her with you and do just as I say. Take the train to London, go straight to Sir James Peel Egerton. You'll be safe with him.
You're crazy. Jane, steer you are.
Get out, both of you, or I'll shoot.
Come on, it's all right. If Tommy's sure, he's sure.
What the hell?
Dry up, Hersheimer. I want a few words with you.
At first, well, I had no suspicions. But on the boat to Holyhead, I began to get frightened. This woman, Mrs. Vandermeyer, Rita. She tried to make friends with me, but there was something about her I just didn't trust. And she'd been near me on the Lusitania when Mr. Danvers gave me the papers. I ripped open the oilskin packet, took out the treaty. There were only 2 pages of it, and slipped it between the pages of a magazine. And in the end, I found myself in the same railway carriage with Mrs. Vandermeyer after all. After a few moments, I began to feel uneasy. So I decided to leave the carriage. As I tried to get out, I felt a terrific blow on the back of my head. When I came to, I was lying on a bed in a dirty, squalid room with no windows, and I could hear 2 people talking. One of them was Mrs. Vandermeyer. They hadn't found the papers yet and were speaking of torturing me until they found out where they were. Suddenly, something put the thought of loss of memory into my head. I opened my eyes and started babbling in French. Mrs. Vandermeyer called to the man she'd been speaking to. Spoke to me in French. He asked my name. I said that I didn't know, that I couldn't remember anything at all. Suddenly, he took hold of my wrist and began twisting it. I don't know how long I could have got on, but luckily I fainted. Mrs. Vandermeyer was sweet as honey to me. She told me I'd been in shock and was very ill, and then she left the room. I saw my coat lying on a chair. The magazine was still rolled up in the pocket. I got up as softly as I could. Very gently, I took hold of one of the pictures in the room. The one of Marguerite with her casket of jewels. The back of the picture was quite loose. I took the treaty out of the magazine and slipped it between the picture and its backing.
And the papers are still in the back of that picture. We must get there at once.
Tonight?
Tomorrow may be too late. Besides, by going tonight, we have the chance of capturing Mr. Brown. I'm sure it is his plan that we are to lead him. And he imagines the risk is not great, since he will enter in the guise of a friend.
You know who Mr. Brown is, don't you?
I've been certain for some time. Ever since the night of Mrs. Vandermeyer's mysterious death. There we were up against the logic of facts. Either she took the chloral herself, or else...
Yes?
It was administered in the brandy you gave her. Only 3 people touched that brandy. You, Miss Tuppence, I myself, and one other.
Julius.
What are you saying? That Julius is Mr. Brown? Julius, my cousin?
Not your cousin. The man who calls himself Julius Hersheimer is no relative of yours.
I don't believe you.
Oh, the real Julius set out to look for you, that much is true. But 3 weeks ago, his body was found in New York. Shabbily dressed, the face disfigured to prevent identification. Julius Hersheimer had ceased to exist. Mr. Brown took his place. No one has come into the house so far. The police are quite sure of that. And anyone who attempts to enter after us will be arrested straight away. Yes.
Oh, we succeeded.
It was in this room that our young friend was confined for so long, was it not? A truly sinister room. You notice the absence of windows and the thickness of the close-fitting door. Whatever took place in here would never be heard by the outside world. You scent danger, Miss Tuppence. So does Miss Finn. You feel, as we all feel, the presence of Mr. Brown.
In this house?
In this room. That's right, Miss Tuppence. I am Mr. Brown. You said just now we had succeeded. I have succeeded. The draft treaty is mine. And in 2 days' time, this country will be mine.
But that is madness.
Absolute power? Is that so mad a dream? Many men have had that dream. I shall be the first to realize it.
You'll never get away with it.
People trust me, my dear. You did. Your friend Tommy did. The only one who didn't was the American, and he will soon be dealt with.
And us?
Neither of you will leave this room alive. Shall I tell you how it will be? Sooner or later, the police will break in, and they will find the 3 victims of Mr. Brown. 3, not 2, you understand. Fortunately, the 3rd will not be dead, only wounded, and will be able to describe the attack in a wealth of detail. The treaty, of course, is in the hands of the assassin, Mr. Brown. Once you outwitted me. You will not do it again. You. Ave Caesar. Te morituri salutat. 'Tis 'tis. 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 'Tis 'tis.
Well, I enjoyed this very much. It was
Beresford, please tell me, when did you first cast me as the villain?
Oh, well, like you, I suppose. I realized that if Mrs. Vandermeyer hadn't committed suicide, only two people could have killed her. One was Sir James, a pillar of the establishment, seemingly totally above suspicion, and you, about whom we knew very little. Thank you.
Well, we knew he was the third richest man in America.
We knew he claimed to be. Sorry, Julius. Then I found that photograph of Annette in the drawer and realized she had to be Jane Finn, even if you didn't know it yourself. But you said that that photograph had been taken from you by Inspector Brown.
Well, I was telling you the truth. It had.
Then how did you get it back again?
Believe it or not, I found it.
In the safe in Mrs. Vandermeyer's bedroom.
Right.
I knew you were lying when you said you'd found nothing.
The one thing that always puzzled me was how they linked me with the Ritz. Now, as far as I was aware, only three knew. Tuppence, Julius, and Mr. Carter. It wasn't until after I got free that I discovered one other person knew. Sir James. And that it was immediately after he'd been told that I was ordered to be killed. I couldn't quite make a decision. Sir James or Julius?
Well, I had one big advantage over you. I knew it wasn't me.
Yes, well, I kept an open mind. I left that note about Arizona for you so you'd think you had a clear field. Then went to see Sir James and told him everything I knew.
Everything?
Except where I thought the treaty was.
But when did you know it wasn't Julius?
When I got the bogus note, it was printed, not handwritten, but it was really the signature that gave it away. Tuppence.
Good thinking, Tommy.
Well, it's the right way to spell it, isn't it? Twopence. But only someone who had never seen your signature would have spelt it like that. Julius had seen it. You wrote him a note once.
How do you know about that?
Oh, there's quite a lot I know that you don't know, I know.
If you knew it wasn't Julius, why did you hold him up at gunpoint?
I knew that unless Sir James was actually caught in the act, so to speak, Mr. Carter would never believe it of him on my word alone.
Yes. To my eternal shame, you're right.
The girls had to lead Sir James to that house and the Marguerite picture. On the way up, I told Julius the whole story.
Beresford has said that I would never have believed Sir James P. Legend to be guilty unless he was caught in the act. Well, he was an old friend, a close friend. But I didn't know that he was also a madman. And in this diary of his are all the details of the coup that the courage of you young people has averted. There'll be no general strike now, no revolution, though the country came perilously near it. So, I give you a toast. The joint venture, which has so amply justified itself by success.
Joint venture.
The joint venture.
Thank you.
Rather fun, wasn't it?
Rather.
I like Julius.
You're not to marry him, do you hear? I forbid it. Absolutely. Do you understand?
He doesn't want to marry me. He really only asked me out of kindness.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's quite true. He's head over heels in love with Jane. I expect he's proposing to her now.
They'll do for each other very nicely.
Don't you think she's the loveliest creature you've ever seen?
I dare say.
But I dare say you prefer Sterlingworth.
Oh, dash it all, Tuppence, you know.
By the way, what will you do now? As your uncle's decided to give you an allowance, will you accept Carter's offer? Or Julius's invitation to work in America?
Oh, I shall stick to the old ship, I think. Though it's awfully good of her, Shammy. Besides, I feel you'd be more at home in London.
I don't see where I come into it.
I do.
Hero.